Just quickly turning to the conviction exchange work. Again, I won't labour this, but it's just to make the point of the diversity of our work. This is about the UK being a central, identifying a central authority. Well, our office hosts that central authority for exchanging criminal records with other EU member states. What are the challenges involved in that? Well, bringing together the 3 jurisdictions of England, Wales, and Northern Ireland, joining up the IT, we've heard about that, joining up the legal, the different legal challenges in each of those countries. Again, no surprises in any of that. The chap in the bottom left-hand corner, he's largely what started much of this work. He's a chap called Michael Fourniret, who was actually someone that was committing very serious crimes, rapes and murders of very young girls across Belgium and France. And the European Commission said, we've got to do something about this. We've got to share information in a better manner, a bit like we did domestically in the UK context with the Bichard inquiry. And he really was a large driving force in getting a lot of this in place. Just to give you some operational benefits, we very much like that, and we always try to link back to the operational benefits in everything that we do. It's no good just talking about it. It's exactly Jan's point, what we're delivering. There's 3 case studies up there that you can see where, through the conviction exchange, we've actually been able to help investigating officers acquire information about suspects they're actually dealing with to either properly sentence them or properly deal with them in a police capacity. The middle one is the one I just tease out. 20 people arrested in the UK for importing drugs. There was intelligence from the police force that were investigating these individuals that actually the drugs were coming in via a particular route through Europe. We made requests with those particular countries, which was Portugal and Spain. And initially, those individuals all pleaded, the whole group of them pleaded not guilty to these offences, these conspiracy offences. And actually, when the information was returned, they all bar one changed their plea to guilty pleas. So think about their trial savings and things like that. I mean, really, really good, impactful stuff. And again, the benefits around sex offending, exactly the same. This is old data now, but 125 investigations of rape, 77 of sex offences against children. Our unit has been involved in providing information for those investigations. Astonishing figure in my view, 30% of all inquiries made produce a result. So let's just talk a bit about finance and the unit and where we've come from. Initially, we were Home Office grant back in 2003, £94,000. Very, very limited. The top right-hand corner there is the porter cabin where we resided for about 18 months, and a very, very memorable place for me, I have to say. The police authority, Hampshire Police Authority, allowed ACPO to start itself up. They pump primed us by giving us some money up front, which has now been repaid. But we couldn't have set up what we did without the support of the police authority. It's really important. In return, we also made a surety payment to the Hampshire Constabulary, which is still lodged with them to this day, to manage things against mass redundancy, dilapidation costs, and so on for the building that we're now in. We also managed to secure, before we did all the income generation initiatives that I talked about, £1 million levied from the P&C subscription charge. This area we're actually now looking at, and we're talking to ACPO about how we can start to move away from drawing on that £1 million in an effort to make our saving around the 20% and actually give that back, as it were, into policing, because we'd like to be self-sufficient in the future, completely self-sufficient. We get very limited Home Office grant funding for the conviction exchange work that I talked about, and we do get some European Commission funding to do specific projects, and we do. But by far the greatest income is around police certificates and the other agency work that I described. And it actually accounts for about 80% of the total amount of income that ACPO survive on. So you can see at the top, we went from £94,000 just over 7 years ago, or nearly 7 years ago, and our projected turnover this year is something like £9 million. So you can see it's been massive growth. And although I don't pit us against a police force, and I do understand all the significant differences there, we believe that the principles we've established within ACPO could read across to certain policing functions. So what are those principles? What am I talking about? What's the culture? Well, firstly, the innovative approach to almost a private sector type model within a public sector arrangement. Quite challenging, quite a few rubbing points, but it's worked well. The leadership style that I've already mentioned, a can-do attitude. Again, nothing new in this, but really, really fundamentally important. Don't find all the reasons why you can't do something, find the reasons to do something. A strong focus on delivery. Everything we do, we try to deliver on. And I know that's not always possible, but we will not let go until we're really satisfied that we've exhausted every single avenue. And we try to instill that in every single employee at ACPO. Allowing staff to have opportunities to develop their own careers and their own development through secondments and attachments. We've actually talked to Interpol, Europol, SOCA, Criminal Records Bureau, Independent Safeguarding Authority, and we've got a number of our staff on attachment as we speak today in those organisations which we fund. A conscientious and accountable group of staff, with all those things come with everything that I've talked about. We have the greatest integrity, and we like to believe that everything that we do is underpinned with a real level of conscientiousness in what we do. We also have, I just put it on the end there, motivational speakers. We have about every 6 weeks, we have someone come in, talk to the staff. It's a voluntary thing after work. And we've had people that have rowed across the Atlantic. We've had people come in and talk about forensics. So some things are very related to the work. Some things are completely off the wall. We had some people that climbed Angel Falls in Venezuela. Staff really, really like it. What are the challenges going forward? Well, how do we retain our agility? We've gone from a very small frigate to perhaps a slightly smaller oil tanker now, which is much more difficult to manoeuvre through the channels. We hit more politics. We get noticed now because we're growing in size. We're 9 million rather than 94,000. The challenges grow. Recruitment. How do we continue with a good recruitment campaign where we identify good people, retain good quality people? How do we vet and make sure that we ensure the appropriate security of our staff? Procurement, I'm not going to lie, it's been something that's really difficult. I apologise profusely if there's procurement colleagues in the audience, but it's been something that's been really challenging for us, and we found that we've had to work hard to overcome some of those challenges and the timescales, particularly around procurement. Finance I've talked about a lot, and bureaucracy, I'm no person to say any more than Jan said. Just quickly then, yes, we were successful this year. Yes, we're only 170 people. At the time the survey was conducted, we were only about 110, I think, something like that. But nevertheless, we entered. We weren't sure where we'd end up. We were a little bit embarrassed because we were invited to a gala evening up in London, and we thought we'd done okay. We'd reached the top 75 positions, which we were delighted with. And we were the only group there, and this really does show to me all the things I'm talking about valuing staff, investing in staff, and all those issues I've alluded to. We were the only group amongst that whole hall that had 2 tables at the dinner. And we thought, blimey, this is not going to be good if we don't do very well. And we didn't know. We had absolutely no idea of the result. And we turned up and we made the top 10. We were delighted. And actually, as the evening progressed, we learnt that we'd actually won this thing. And we're still getting over it now, to be quite honest with you. Really, really pleased with the result. And the photo you see there is the chap that should be standing here in front of you this afternoon. This was straight after the event. He came back and all the staff welcomed him in. So what lessons have we learned? Well, really important to understand the environment in which you operate in. I talked about being small, getting slightly bigger. We recognise the politics, they're changing. Always remember who you are. Remember, and I know that sounds obvious, but remember who's your boss, who you're working to, and the fact that we're always there to support ACPO. We're not there to tell ACPO what to do. Be bold and create opportunities. I've given you a few examples of where we've done that. Take risks carefully, but importantly, you have to take them. Respect all staff, treat them all as an absolute priority and don't ignore them. And most importantly, pay attention to detail. Again, I know I'm not telling anyone anything new here, but it's what's worked for us. By paying attention to that extra level of detail has really helped us, and to listening to what staff's worries and concerns are. Thanks very much.